What if I told you that the specific prayer Jesus used before performing his most famous miracles was never actually about asking God for help? And what if the reason the miracles seem to have stopped in the modern age is not because the divine power has dried up, but because we have fundamentally misunderstood the instruction manual on how to access it? To answer that, we have to peel back nearly 2,000 years of institutional doctrine to define a concept that has been lost in translation. We must examine the specific Aramaic formula, the ancient technology of consciousness that Jesus employed before he raised the dead, healed the blind, or calmed the storms. This was not a prayer of petition. It was a prayer of alignment, and understanding it requires us to journey back to a time before the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. Before the texts were standardized by the Roman Empire, to uncover a mechanism of creation that connects the ancient mystics directly to the frontier discoveries of modern quantum physics. When we look at the earliest followers of Jesus, those who walked with him and witnessed the phenomena firsthand, we see they practiced a form of prayer that was radically different from the modern conception of pleading with a distant deity. In the Aramaic language that Jesus spoke, sound and meaning are inseparable. Words were not just descriptors used to label objects. They were vibrational frequencies intended to resonate with the essence of the subject being spoken of. The prayer Jesus taught his inner circle was a declaration of unity, a recognition of power already present, not a request for power to be sent from outside. The Gnostic texts found in Nag Hammadi in 1945, which were hidden in clay jars for centuries to escape destruction, reveal that Jesus taught his disciples that the kingdom is an internal state. It is present tense. It is already activated. The Gospel of Thomas, excluded from the canonical Bible, records a specific instruction. If you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not have will destroy you. This was not poetic metaphor. This was a technical instruction on the mechanism of reality creation. It implies that the human being is a conduit, a biological vessel through which the divine source flows, provided the conduit is not blocked by the consciousness of separation or fear. To truly grasp this, we must deconstruct the mechanism of this lost form of prayer. It operates on three distinct interlocking levels: the linguistic, the quantum, and the physiological. Let us first examine the linguistic mechanism, which is far more complex than simple translation errors. In the Hebrew mystical tradition of Kabbalah, which Jesus as a rabbi would have known deeply, there is the concept of kavana. This is the directed intention behind the words. The ancient Kabbalists understood the divine name, the Tetragrammaton, not as a static noun, but as a verb, the eternal present tense. I am that I am. It does not say I was, nor does it say I will be. The power resides only in the eternal now. Before every recorded miracle, Jesus entered this state of I am consciousness. He did not ask God to heal someone, as if God were separate and needed convincing. He gave thanks as if the miracle had already occurred. This is the crucial mechanical distinction that the modern church often misses. In the realm of I am, in the quantum field of infinite possibility, the healing had already happened. He spoke from the end. He spoke from the place of completion, collapsing the wave of potential into the particle of manifestation through the vibrational frequency of gratitude and absolute knowing. The Essenes, the mystical desert sect many scholars believe Jesus was connected to, practiced what they called feeling prayer. Their texts describe this as invoking the feeling of the wish fulfilled, surrounding yourself with the emotion of having already received what you desire. They understood intuitively what quantum physics would confirm 2 millennia later, that the observer is not passive. The observer affects the observed. Consciousness shapes reality, and feeling is the magnetic language that communicates with the field of all possibilities. However, when the teachings were institutionalized and adopted by the Roman Empire to unify a fracturing political landscape, a shift occurred. The mechanism was altered to serve a hierarchy. Prayers became petitions. Humans were redefined as sinners separate from God, requiring priests and intermediaries to bridge the gap. The direct connection, the I am power that Jesus demonstrated, was deemed heretical because it made the institution unnecessary. Mystics throughout history who rediscovered this mechanism, figures like Meister Eckhart, Hildegard of Bingen, or Giordano Bruno, were often silenced, exiled, or burned, because this knowledge transfers power from the institution back to the individual. To understand exactly how this works in practice, we must analyze the specific words Jesus spoke before raising Lazarus from the dead. In the Gospel of John chapter 11, we find the only recorded instance where the veil is pulled back, and we are allowed to hear the prayer before the miracle is visible. Standing before the tomb, surrounded by mourners and skeptics, he does not ask for life to return. He looks up and says, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me." Notice the tense. Have heard. Past tense. Before the command, "Lazarus, come out," was given, before the dead man moved a muscle, Jesus was already giving thanks for the completion of the act. He was not hoping. He was acknowledging a reality that already existed in the invisible realm. This is the secret mechanism. Prayer is not a petition for something you lack. It is a declaration of thanks for what you already have in the quantum potential. But there is a deeper layer here, hidden in the Aramaic word he used for father, abun. This word is far more expansive than the English father. It does not refer to a patriarch sitting on a throne in the sky. It translates more accurately to the birther, the source, or the cosmic womb from which all creation emerges. It refers to the unified field of breath and vibration. When Jesus said, "I thank you that you have heard me," he was speaking from a state of absolute unity with this source. Subject and object collapsed into one. He wasn't standing on the shore calling out to the ocean. He recognized he was the ocean temporarily experiencing itself as a wave. This unity consciousness is the first component of the mechanism. It is the removal of the illusion of separation. The second component is the frequency of gratitude. In the physics of creation, abundance and scarcity are not amounts of material things. They are frequencies of consciousness. You can have millions of dollars and vibrate at the frequency of scarcity, always afraid of losing it, always grasping for more. Or you can have very little and vibrate at the frequency of abundance, knowing the source is infinite. The prayer Jesus used operated not in the physical world of the problem, which Kabbalah calls Asaya, but in the world of creation, called Beriah. When you pray from the physical reality, focusing on the sickness, the debt, or the loneliness, you are reinforcing the frequency of the problem. You are observing the lack, and by observing it, you are collapsing the quantum wave function into more lack. This is the trap of begging prayer. But when you pray from the realm of creation, you are observing the solution. Thank you that I am whole. Thank you that I am provided for. You are withdrawing your energy from the problem and investing it fully in the solution. This creates a new electromagnetic signature. This leads us to the third component of the mechanism, which brings us to the biology of belief, the physiological heart field. Modern science, specifically research from the HeartMath Institute, has established that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field 5,000 times more powerful than the brain. This field extends several feet outside the body and changes based on our emotional state. This field is the antenna that communicates with the quantum field. Jesus understood that the universe does not respond to what you say, it responds to what you broadcast. If your words say, "I want to be healed," but your heart field is broadcasting the fear of sickness. The universe responds to the fear. The signal of wanting implies not having. Therefore, you manifest more wanting. The universe is a mirror, not a judge. It reflects your state of being. Jesus bypassed this by feeling the gratitude of the result before the result was visible. By feeling the joy of Lazarus being alive before Lazarus walked out, he aligned his heart field with the reality where Lazarus was already alive. The external world then had no choice but to rearrange itself to match that dominant frequency. This explains the miracle of the loaves and fishes. 5,000 people were hungry. The logical mind saw lack. The mathematical mind saw an impossibility. But Jesus took the small amount of food, looked up to heaven, and gave thanks. He shifted his consciousness from the frequency of not enough to the frequency of more than enough. He did not wait for the food to multiply to be grateful. He was grateful, and therefore the food multiplied. The cause and effect are reversed in this mode of prayer. Gratitude is not the reaction to a miracle, it is the cause of the miracle. But why do so many people fail when they try to apply this? Why do we try to think positive or visualize, and yet nothing changes? This brings us to the law of reversibility. In physics, many laws are reversible. Heat can produce motion, and motion can produce heat. Electricity can produce magnetism, and magnetism can produce electricity. The ancients understood this applied to consciousness as well. If a specific physical reality produces a specific feeling, for example, getting a promotion makes you feel confident, then the reverse must be true. Generating the feeling of confidence can produce the physical reality of the promotion. Most people fail because they are trying to change the reflection in the mirror without changing the face. They say the words, but their body is still chemically addicted to the emotions of the past fear, worry, stress. You cannot create a new future while maintaining the chemical signature of the past. Jesus' method requires a complete physiological shift. You must become the person who has the miracle before the miracle arrives. This brings us to the effect of this knowledge. When you apply this mechanism, the effect is a shift in your timeline. We now understand through quantum mechanics that the future is not fixed. Multiple potential timelines exist simultaneously in a state of superposition. There is a timeline where you remain sick, and a timeline where you are healed. There is a timeline of struggle, and a timeline of abundance. Your consciousness, specifically the coherence between your thought and your feeling, selects which timeline collapses into your experienced reality. The Hermetic principle, as above, so below, as within, so without, encodes this truth. The realm above is the quantum potential. The realm below is the physical manifestation. What you hold within your feeling state manifests without as your life. Jesus did not violate natural laws. He mastered the higher laws of consciousness that govern the lower laws of matter. He demonstrated that mind is superior to matter, and spirit is superior to mind. So, how does this transform our modern understanding of prayer? The effect is that we move from being passive beggars to active co-creators. It changes the function of prayer from an attempt to change God's mind to a method of changing our own frequency. The ancient text, the prayer of Joseph, although excluded from the Bible, hints at this status of the human soul descending from the realm of light to take on form, retaining dominion over its reality. Applying this mechanism requires a rigorous discipline of the mind. It is the practice of living from the end. This is the most difficult part for the rational mind to accept, because the physical senses report the old reality. You pray for abundance, but the bank account is empty. You pray for healing, but the pain remains. This is the gap, the testing ground. This is the valley of the shadow of death that you must walk through without fearing evil. Jesus addressed this explicitly. Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Notice the grammar again. Have received, past tense. The effect of this practice is that you must walk through your day not as someone waiting for a miracle, but as someone who is carrying the miracle. If the healing were already complete, how would you feel? How would you walk? How would you speak to your friends? You must embody that physiological state now. This is not pretending. It is prophetic alignment. It is tuning your instrument to the station you want to hear before the music starts playing. When you do this, when you align your intention with the feeling of gratitude, you stop fighting the old reality. Fighting gives it energy. Resistance creates persistence. Instead, you simply withdraw your attention from it. You acknowledge the diagnosis, the debt, or the conflict, but you deny it your authority. You say, I see you, but you are not the ultimate truth. The truth is divine wholeness. This is what it means to trample on snakes and scorpions, to step over the lower consciousness of fear and limitation without being bitten by the poison of reaction. Furthermore, we must address the concept of shlemuta. In Aramaic, this is the word often translated as peace, as in peace be with you. But shlemuta implies far more than the absence of conflict. It comes from the root slm, which means to be whole, to be complete, to be entirely sound. When Jesus commanded the storm to be still, or told the woman, "Go in peace," he was not just wishing them a nice day. He was commanding their reality to return to a state of wholeness, of structural integrity with the divine design. To pray effectively, you must enter this state of shlemuta. You cannot pray effectively from a fragmented mind, torn between faith and fear. You must integrate. The heart and the brain must become coherent. When the heart's magnetic field aligns with the brain's electric intention, a phenomenon occurs that scientists call psychophysiological coherence. In this state, the body operates at peak efficiency, and the signal sent to the quantum field is clear, strong, and undistorted. This is the faith that moves mountains. It is not blind belief. It is biological and energetic coherence. The ultimate effect of recovering this lost mode of prayer is the realization that you are not separate from the divine. The separation was the illusion. The silence of God was actually the silence of a humanity that had forgotten its own language. We have been calling out to a distant king, while the power was resting in our own hands, waiting for us to speak the password. That password is not a magic word, but a state of being. Gratitude for the present perfection of the invisible. As you begin to practice this, you will notice the effect in the form of synchronicities. The universe will begin to mirror your new frequency. Small shifts, unexpected opportunities, a sense of peace that defies the circumstances. These are the first signs that the timeline is shifting. The miracle is not coming to you, it is coming through you. But a warning must be given. This power is neutral. It works for fear just as well as it works for love. If you use your I am power to declare, I am sick, I am tired, I am broke, the mechanism will work perfectly to confirm that reality. Every thought you think with feeling is a prayer. Every fear you dwell on is a prayer. You are praying all day long, mostly unconsciously, mostly for things you do not want. The invitation of Jesus is to become a conscious creator, to take the reins of your own mind and direct this immense power toward life, toward healing, toward the kingdom of heaven. In the end, the secret that was hidden, the truth that was buried beneath centuries of dogma, is remarkably simple. We are the vessels. We are the conduits. The prayer of Jesus was a template for human evolution, a demonstration of what is possible when a human being remembers their origin. It invites us to step out of the boat of our limited thinking and walk on the water of infinite possibility. It challenges us to stop asking for permission to live and start declaring the life we were meant to live. The question that remains is not whether this power exists. The history, the texts, and even modern science confirm it. The question is whether you are ready to abandon the comfort of playing small and accept the responsibility of your own divine potential. Are you ready to stop begging and start thanking? Because the moment you do, the moment you truly feel the gratitude for what is already done in heaven, you bring that heaven down to earth. That is the mechanism. That is the key. And now, it is yours to turn.